Lowering Developer Onboarding Costs, here on Programming with Palermo.
You are programming with Palermo. You deliver software. You need to move fast, deliver quality, and run your software with confidence. Stay tuned for timeless solutions, simple methods, and topics that will propel you forward. And now your host, lifelong programmer, author, teacher, coach, Christian, and charismatic speaker, Jeffrey Palermo.
Howdy, welcome back to Programming with Palermo. I'm your host, Jeffrey Palermo, and today we are going to talk about lowering your onboarding costs for new developers on your team. Software costs are already expensive. Every software executive knows that, but the last thing that we want to do is have inefficient processes or missing tools that balloon those already large costs. And so when our team is working in an inefficient manner or taking more time than really necessary to do some tasks that are going to happen from time to time, and even as frequently as setting up a new developer workstation, we don't want that situation. And so I'm going to talk about the power of the one-click build. And this is something that you can you can ask your team, you can look to see if that's present. The one-click build allows a new developer to join your team and start contributing code changes on the first day. Additionally, when existing team members have to either get a new computer or reformat and reset up a developer workstation computer, this tool also allows the automating of all of the basic setup tasks when formatting and resetting up a workstation from scratch, saving so much time that is just technical tasks, remembering it. So let's get into it, and I'm going to show you what I mean, and you'll see what it looks like, and then you'll be able to equip your team with a one-click build. So like I said, anyone overseeing a software team cares about quality, efficiency, productivity, and these are important things because they translate directly into labor costs. Software teams, you see the dollar figure on the P&L statements. When we're talking about onboarding a new developer or setting up a workstation from scratch, you should expect a developer to be able to contribute code on the very first day. So let's go through a scenario. New developer is ramping up in the team. He's eager to start working, eager to start making contributions. He wants to get the code up and running on his computer quickly. So what's the first thing that we do? We clone the repository from source control and then try to run the application. Invariably, this fails. Why? Well, first off, there's plenty of dependencies that the local developer workstation just doesn't have. SQL Server database that goes with the application. If it's not there, it fails. And then probably several other dependencies that just must be installed or have to be set up in a certain way. And the experienced members of the team, they've got these steps memorized in their heads. But of course, this is super secret tribal knowledge to any of the newcomers. And maybe there is a documented list of steps that are necessary for proper developer workstation setup. And if the list is kept properly up to date, then the new developer can follow the steps and get the application working, maybe. But what invariably happens every time is that a more tenured member of the software team takes some time out and helps the new developer get the software running on his workstation. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have the overhead of explaining to the new developer what the application is and how it's put together and the thought process behind it. And that's always going to happen. But there's extra time that is wasted. The extra time wasted is the mechanics of getting the application running on a new workstation. And this cost it also exists, like I mentioned, when we set up a new workstation, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's all absolutely unnecessary. What you should expect from your team is that a new computer or a new team member experience is quick and automatic. The process should be 2 steps. First, we clone the source control repository. Second, we run a single command, and then the application works. The one-click build, as it's called, is a very simple script that checks for the needed dependencies on the local computer and installs them. And if it's a dependency that does not have an unattended install, there's a few of those, then it can prompt the developer with a clear error message with what software needs to be installed manually. You don't have to remember. But in today's day and age, most developer dependencies can be installed automatically. The most basic of these is the SQL Server database that the application needs to connect to. Even small microservices are responsible for their own piece of data and require some type of data store to be set up in order to run it locally. And we're going to see what it looks like.
Programming with Palermo is brought to you by ClearMeasure, a software architecture company that empowers .NET teams to be self-sufficient, moving fast, delivering quality, and running their software with confidence in Azure. If your team has a project that's too important to be delayed or derailed, ClearMeasure can help while keeping your team in the driver's seat and growing in capability. Click on clearmeasure.com for more information. If you are an architect or .NET engineer aspiring to become an architect, check out clearmeasure.com/careers. Now, back to the show.
I've got Visual Studio up and running, and I'm just going to do what we normally do. We're going to clone the repository and go to GitHub. And I've already cloned it, but it's as basic as this, and the URL to this application is in the show notes. You can see, oh, you already got it cloned, so I don't have to do it. And so it's already open, but we clone it, and then we go to Solution Explorer and actually run it. So I am going to do that. All right, and I'm going to open it up. And this is a small application. I've used this application template on some other things, namely to demonstrate Docker container images and Azure Container Registry, as well as packaging them and deploying them to Azure Container Apps. And you can see the code. I just reinstalled Visual Studio, so I need to get my licenses all set up and running. That's the pop-up of InCrunch that you saw. All right, so we have our application there, and I'm going to hit Control F5. I'm going to run the application. See what happens. And we can see, oh, one of our health checks already failed. Default health check service, health check data access with status unhealthy. Cannot connect to database. Okay, well, I know that one particular page tries to connect to the database. Here it is. This is just a Blazor WebAssembly application. So we can look, press F12, and we can see that, yes, we cannot connect to the database. That's what that means. Why? Well, the database doesn't exist. So if I open up SQL Management Studio, pull it over here, I don't see the database. Now if we come over and sure, we can look at the configuration, app settings JSON, connection string. Oh, we need a database called Church Bulletin. Okay, maybe I have some database scripts, but there's no Church Bulletin application. I'm not going to create it locally. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over here and open the folder in File Explorer. And this is the folder that it is, and go to the top level and click to build .bat. I'm going to double click or put enter on this one. And, never mind. I need to close the application first. Close, and let's try that again. All right, we don't want all those file copy warnings. Okay, so we're gonna do a NuGet restore, and we're going to do a compilation. And more than just this video, we're running our unit tests, which we talk about unit tests a lot in other videos. But after we run our unit tests, well, then it's time to run integration tests that call out to dependencies. But of course, I have to have the database going. And right here, you can see Church Bulletin cannot be dropped because it's not there, but we just created it. So let's just not worry about the rest of this. And let's go to SQL Management Studio. Let's refresh. And oh, look, Church Bulletin. Now it's a small application. It only has really one database table. But you know what? Let's come over here. And we tried to hit Control F5 and run the application, and it didn't work. Well, let's run this. Okay, I don't have a fail there. That's good. And here is the application. Let's go ahead and refresh. Let's just get rid of F12. Okay, look at that. The page worked. It grabbed the data from the database, and it's all said and good. Okay, so to conclude here, this is really, really powerful. whether it's a SQL Server database that needs to be set up, whether it is a queue, whether it's a special folder structure to export PDFs from, whatever dependency, whatever setup a particular application needs, the PowerShell in that simple script file should just set it up so we're not having to remember it here or going through a Word document that ultimately gets stale. So, to wrap this up, expect new software team members to contribute code changes immediately. Immediately, equipping them with the right onboarding process is your key to this reality. So add a one-click build, and that's a tool that no software team should really be without. Thanks for being with me here today on Programming with Palermo, where we talked about equipping your team with a one-click build. You should expect your team members to be able to contribute code changes on their first day on the team. Or when your developers are having to format a new workstation, it should be automatic. And your team has dozens of applications probably. Don't have them futzing around with unique combinations of dependencies for all of the different applications. Make every application's source code have a script that just sets up the dependencies necessary. Integrate that in with your larger private build script. And we've talked about that in other videos as well. So I hope that helps you empower your software team to be more effective and, of course, lower the costs of software maintenance and adding a new developer to the team. So thanks again for being with me here on Programming with Palermo. God bless.
You've been watching Programming with Palermo, your primary place for highly productive programming protocols and practices. Remember, you have what it takes. You can do this. You are a programmer, formed by God Himself and called to this profession for a purpose. You can catch every episode at palermo.network as well as syndicated locations nationwide. We're so glad you tuned in. Until next time, may God bless you, and thanks for Programming with Palermo. Programming with Palermo has made a special arrangement with Marketplace Chaplains. Besides programming challenges, we all face issues in life where we need some help. If you'd like, you can call a chaplain confidentially. To speak with a gentleman, dial 512-923-8178. Or to speak with a lady, dial 512-619-6950. The show won't know you called, and everything is kept in strict secrecy. This is a free service, available if you or a friend need it.